Welcome to the Quack-12 Podcast, the most official, unofficial Oregon Ducks podcast in the web footosphere. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Quack-12 Podcast or visit our website, quack12podcast.com. If you like what you hear, please leave us 5 stars on your listening device. And if you'd like to support the show, please visit the Quack-12 Patreon page, where for a measly $5 a month, you can become an official Quacky and unlock hundreds of hours of Oregon Duck content. On to the show. Quack, quack.
Quack. Quack. Quack. Quack. Le quack. Quack. Excuse me, le quack.
Kurt Keenan. Hello. I am your host, Adam Jamale.
I'm Aaron Schroeder.
That is right, and this is the Quack-12 Podcast, the most official, unofficial Oregon Ducks sporting podcast on the web footosphere. Aaron, we still don't have an Oregon football game really to talk about, but we're going to make some picks. I'm jonesing for some Oregon football. I'm now.
You got any updates? Hit me with some news bulletins.
Well, we are at the situation where no news is good news. I mean, we're recruiting like freaking ridiculous gangbusters. We're getting all the best transfers, but as far as the team is concerned, you know, like I'm sure we're practicing. There's no injuries, if only that we know of. We're only getting healthier. We just got to sit around and wait for January 1st.
Tell me this.
Let's hear it.
How do you approach the viewage of tape in this moment? Are you just watching that first team that you got to play, or are you also watching any theoretical next opponent because things are going to move so quickly?
Well,
or is it actually moving really fucking slow?
I mean, it's moving real slow to me.
Sure.
Especially since, like, you know, I'm trying not to watch any Oregon basketball because they seem to be doing better when I don't watch as of right now.
That's a classic approach to fandom.
I watched a game and they lost. Every other game I didn't really watch except for highlights, and they won. So I'm just gonna keep my freaking butt out of this one, my man. At least for the the non-con season. But
look, we all know the season starts at March Madness.
Everyone knows that. We're looking pretty good so far. Aaron, so obviously the world, I think the viewership is going to be ridiculous for the Tennessee Ohio State game. Everyone's going to be watching that one, and that's going to be
when is that?
That is December 21st at 5 p.m. on ABC.
And that's our first bowl game.
Well, that'll be the first. That is not the first bowl game. It's like the first round of the playoffs. They've already had some bowl games, you know.
We have.
Oh yeah, but I didn't really care about them.
I mean,
Western Michigan
have in their name
versus University of Southern Alabama.
Oh,
or that's it. That's the only one we've missed. So
okay,
who do you think won? Who would you have picked?
South Alabama. You
would have been right. Damn. Damn.
Not even a question, brother.
Look at you, man.
I've been down there. Those boys are big and they're.
You have been to so many great states in this great nation of ours.
You might say I've been to all of them.
I've been everywhere. I've been to Georgia.
I've never been to Alaska, and I've never been to Hawaii. I've been to the 48.
Really? Are you freaking serious?
Yeah.
I've been to at least driven through.
Oh, I've definitely stopped and slept in every state.
Are there any states you're not allowed to return to?
There is one state that probably doesn't want me to come back, and I've had letters from them. It may be a scam, though. I'm not for sure.
I love it. Sounds like you're in the state of denial, man. But Aaron, I think you should try to use that sense of geography in your picks this week, because
I have terrible geography. That's the funniest part of it. Okay, anyway,
you know you've been everywhere, you just don't know where that place
exactly
is. So Ohio State, Tennessee, that's going to be just the biggest I don't know, most intriguing game in the first round of the playoffs. Ohio State will be at home. However, I believe, just like us in the Rose Bowl, due to weird ticketing kind of, I don't know, situations where kind of a code was leaked, apparently a bunch of Tennessee fans started buying up more than their allotted slots of tickets to that Ohio State game. So maybe they can invade the horseshoe and helping out,
because of a broken code on the website.
Or I think it was like someone just said like, hey, if you use this code, you can buy their tickets, which is pretty fun.
Tracking it. Got you.
Yes. But like, to answer your question, so Tennessee, Ohio State, everyone's going to be watching that because it's going to be the first game we watch. And clearly one of those teams is going to be like a front runner, most likely.
Would you
say
that this is like a wild card round? Or no? This is literally first round playoff.
Well, it's like 9-8. It's first round playoffs. Like, these teams they didn't earn their bye. And they didn't win their conferences, so I guess you could say wild card, sure.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm done interrupting.
It's a weird process. It's the first time we've never done a 12-team playoff before.
I've never done a winning season before.
Number 12 Clemson at number 5 Texas. That will be the other game that the winner of that, if we were to survive our first game that we play in the playoffs, will play one of those teams. Clemson will be traveling to Texas. So keep this in mind for your picks, though I'm sure I already know who you're going to be picking in that one.
Was there ever the ability for us to play Texas in the national championship? Like, had the cards fallen differently, would that theoretically been possible?
Theoretically,
or are we on the same side of conferences?
Theoretically, it could have happened.
Okay.
Absolutely. It was just randomly that, they're ranked number 3 or whatever they are. And so they just landed they're ranked 5, I guess, right now. And that just randomly made it so we're not going to play them. Or we will play them before the national championship. You get it. Yeah, I know. If you would have called that out, I would have really thought maybe this Aaron Premonition's onto something.
Well, I'll watch that game. I think that game will be good.
I hope so. I'm rooting for Clemson, honestly.
What?
I won. Well, here's one thing. I'm still scared. I want to win the national championship so bad that I just went the easiest path, like many Duck fans. But maybe I should be adopting more of a Dan Lanning philosophy and just be like, guess what? I want the 3 hardest teams so we can kick their asses extra hard and prove we are the hardest team. You know what I mean?
He's building a brand new version of the Mean Green.
That's I'm hoping. I mean, he's got that gangrene defense right now. Yeah, I'm excited, man.
So you would rather play Clemson than the Texas, is what you're basically saying?
I would rather play whoever the lower seeded one. Clemson has had a weird season where they've lost to like Louisville, and then they lost to like South Carolina right before they went to the ACC championship game and won. So it's like they kind of were lucky to be in this. They got blown out by Georgia in week 1.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. They're kind of a weird one. Right now, Hith is having a few technical difficulties, so let's keep this chat going.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you this. Here's what I know. And this is why I wouldn't be concerned if I were you if Texas did win. Because in all of my simulations that I ran, I've ran many simulations, and they've all been actually at the national championship level.
Okay.
But no matter what the simulation I run, no matter how it plays out, I usually always win by about 7 points, 7 to 10 points.
These are good simulation. And you think this world is a simulation. So that's
according to the people who built it, it's super realistic. That's all I know.
So it is close to what the real world's like.
Yeah. Now then, that being said, you do have to control the quarterback for a majority of the simulation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's prone to error if you aren't paying attention all the time. But if you pay attention, simulation runs pretty smoothly and you always win by about 7 to 10 points.
Do the Ducks win in all of these simulations?
Yeah. In fact, the only time it's hard to beat, for the only time they lose,
Mm-hmm.
I should say,
Mm-hmm.
is whenever I run simulations where it's the Ducks playing the Ducks.
Mm-hmm. But so then you could also say the Ducks win in a way.
Well, that's also true.
Aaron, can I ask you another
Those
question?
are deeper simulations that it deal with, like Pandora's box and Schrodinger's cat, etc.
Combined?
Yeah.
What if Schrodinger's cat was in Pandora's box?
What if I told you they were the same thing?
Aaron, can I ask you another question about these simulations?
Please.
In any of these simulations, am I ever truly happy?
You're not in it. So I'm going to go.
Yes. Whoa. Well, then I'm the X factor in these games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am still very, like, I would love for, my main thing is I don't want to play Georgia in Atlanta. And that
yes,
like
and that's what
almost
we're trying to stay away from.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the two bowls coming, playoff games.
Yes.
But do these playoff games also have bowl names?
It's weird because so that first round is like seeds 5 through 12, right?
Uh-huh.
They're all going against each other. The teams ranked 5 through 8, they all get home games. So these aren't bowl games. They're just called first round of the playoff, basically.
Gotcha.
After that, then they go
9
to
through
bowl
12
games. Once who the winners of all those, they'll take on 1 through 4.
So those are kind of the wild card ones then, mayhaps, because
all those teams feel pretty wild.
Because they need these teams need that extra ad revenue bump by having a sponsor on the bowl name.
Well, it's not exactly like Ohio State needs any more cash. They're pretty fun, they're not doing these games for the money. It'll be interesting, man. Ryan Day, like if he loses that game, they may fire him like right then and there. It'd be very
But I thought he's doing in general, I thought he was a pretty successful coach.
He is. But are you paying him millions of dollars to be a pretty successful coach when you demand a perfect coach? That's the kind of cutthroat job this is, man.
Yeah, man. Isn't that messed up? And then you've got somebody like Lanning that makes it look like it's fucking
Easy
Tuesday.
Easy as hell. Have you?
He's like so relaxed. He's got his khakis. He's got his polo. He's got his gum. You notice that he does the gum thing just like the other greatest coach in the entire world?
Pete Carroll. On the speaking of old coaches, have you heard Bill Belichick coaching at UNC? He's a college football coach now. And I think you'll love this. He has a little Nepo thing in his contract, supposedly, because his son is the Washington Huskies defensive coordinator. They hire Bill Belichick, which is going to be hysterical because there's no way he's going to want to talk to like a college age student. Like I don't think it's going to work out. But in his contract, he says, also, you have to hire my son as a defensive coordinator. Also, once I leave, you have to make him the head coach.
You know what, though?
What?
I think you might have it just slightly backwards. I think he might be really successful. Maybe it's his relationships with the younger players at the pro level that have made him realize, you know what, I'm better suited to work with these young ones and let these old veterans just be dickheads because they're old now.
It could be.
Also, I've heard tons of complaints at the professional level that the playership is just like stinky poo-poo these days. I haven't been watching a lot of NFL. So this could be a coach being like, it's time that somebody teaches these kids how to play football.
I need to teach these kids. Well, he says he wants it to be like an NFL pipeline kind of thing.
So he's making money off the side with this is what he's doing.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, he's making
I got
money
it right. Money.
Front. Yeah.
How dare we think he's doing it for the kids? It's money.
I mean, Bill Belichick's personality does not seem like someone who's like, I got to do this for the kids. I think he just couldn't get an NFL job, and he's a cranky man. He's dating someone who's like 23. So he's like, well, might as well get her into school, you know?
Right. Bill Belichick is in his 60s, right? He's an old man.
Yeah. Oh, you've missed these scandalous photos where it'll be like the grumpiest old grandpa looking man and this lady who's I mean, hey, you know
what? Save it for the gossip column. I don't want to know anything about it.
This is the gossip column. Hitler's not here.
Oh, that's right. I'm here. That's right.
He's taking his sweet ass time getting in here. Yeah.
So I heard. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm horrified for these games.
Really?
I don't really know what to tell you. I mean, I think we should be favored in all three. We will be rested, and we've been traveling nonstop regardless. It's almost that last game against Penn State, the fact that I've been like, oh, defense is the thing we can rely on. And then all of a sudden we couldn't rely on it at all in that game. But the offense just exploded. The fact that Dylan Gabriel's looked so freaking clutch in these big games makes me feel at least more comfortable.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not worried because I see that we have so much time between then and now that like we've got plenty of time to build a proper game plan and I feel like we kind of built it already. The defense will be rested. I feel like Hitler said something about this last week where they honestly weren't as bad as it felt like they were. Do you remember this? Did he say something?
I mean, he basically somewhat said that. Well, that like Penn State finally woke up from its offensive slumber.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what they could take. Yeah. That's right. So
I would also be like, they stunk, is what I would personally still.
Sure, but we also got 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, Brother Bear, I get it. We get stressed out. We also demand perfection whenever we feel like it's the most required.
It's true.
But I think they're damn near perfect. I mean, they are. As far as the record shows, number 1, undefeated. Team of legends. I mean, this is a perfect. It's not a perfect machine because there's no such thing. But this is as well-oiled as they get.
Hell yeah.
Until next year, which, since we are trying to burn time, we got this young guy at quarterback that I thought looked pretty sharp in the fourth quarter. They weren't just making him run it, get handoff.
Good old Dante Moore.
But we're talking about we got this new senior hot stuff coming in. Is that true?
Oh my God.
It's the Void.
That was amazing.
I
have no idea what happened.
It's like I asked a really good question and you were like, I'm out of here.
No, Dante Moore, it seems like he is like absolutely going to be the starter next season. I'd be surprised, especially because we got so many young QBs coming in that look great, that I don't imagine why we would need to go into the portal or anything.
So we can presume then that Lanning is looking at, because you know what, we've had 2 years of ringers, if you will. So it does look like, golly, okay, so he's here to win the national championship, and then next season that basically allows him to have any quarterback he wants to have that he can start molding from the floor up.
Yeah.
This is the game plan.
Well, and hopefully if we can keep like Austin Novosad, who's been,
what sucks about this whole thing?
What?
is that once we win the national championship and we have to quit this podcast, I will probably never know what happens to the Oregon Ducks ever again.
Like, I don't know. Does college football still
they
exist?
won. That's the end of the season, right?
Honestly, I'm hoping that happens for me. It's like, and I never had to think about it again. It's happily ever after. It was like the characters at the end of like The Hobbit. You know, after that crazy adventure, they were probably like, "Oh, and then we're done. That's the last great adventure." They didn't know that
I don't know anything about The Hobbit. I think that's the one that has the dragon at the end. That's on all the coins.
Smaug.
And then they have to team up with the white guys in order to win. Is that true?
That's
the
always
Kings.
That's always Lord of the Rings. That's always the case. My man, maybe
I just wanted to make sure.
Let us go to a commercial break, aka a bathroom break, and when we get back together, we'll either have Hit the Day or maybe we'll look into these bowls. But we'll be right
we're
back.
Just gonna get into the bowls, man.
Oh, it's a good, strong bowl, man. We'll be right back after this.
I'm just gonna let you have that one as a hard cut.
And we're back on Quack for a very special episode. That is right, the Bowl Bonanza, the slate clean for me and Aaron, and a very special guest who we will be introducing right now for our special Pick'em challenge. That is right, Hit Day of Addicted to Quack. How you doing, my man?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm ready for some Oregon football. Some would say I'm desperate for some Oregon football, but we still got a long way to go.
Yes,
including some bowl games, which I don't know, Hith. It's how much are you really paying attention to all the bowl games that don't have anything to do with the playoffs right now?
There we go.
I mean, there are a couple of them that are interesting. The one of them that crossed my transom is that Iowa State and Miami are going to be playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
That's low key. I don't even know if it's low key. It seems like out of all the bowl games that don't have anything to really do with the playoffs, that's the one that people are being like, this may be a good combination of obviously funny, kitschy stuff with the Pop-Tart, but also like these teams are intact enough where it could be interesting. But,
I mean, both of them blew their playoff shot.
Yes.
And I mean, and honestly, and both coaches seem to have carry a lot of dignity. But then just completely, and we're winning a bunch of games. We're undefeated for most of the season, and then blew their playoff shot. And I can't imagine the only thing worse than blowing your playoff shot and falling all the way to a loss in the Pop-Tarts Bowl is winning the Pop-Tarts Bowl and then having to participate in the post-game antics of anthropomorphic toaster pastry,
about meeting a new friend who's a giant Pop-Tart, saying hi to him and then watching him as he loads himself into what a machine that will eventually be his demise, and then eating him. It's an amazing
thing that I don't understand is apparently the trophy now produces warm edible Pop-Tarts, which required collaboration with General Electric to devise this. And I'm like, you invented a toaster? I've got two of those in my house right now. Are they trophies?
Well, do you have to plug in the actual trophy for that to work? I mean,
if it's something that toasts Pop-Tarts without having to plug it in, then contact NASA. That's
a battery power.
You've now invented something amazing. If it just works on the power of desire,
it's one of the deals where you touch one side, I touch the other, and then we hold hands.
Like
and
a
the more
Tesla
people
coil.
you get to hold hands, the warmer it gets.
Yeah, whether you have to plug it in for the trophy to work, flips it from being the most mundane device in the world to be the most amazing device in the world. Either way.
Because I could make you a trophy that works as a toaster if I can plug it in. That's something I could actually do.
I
love
to tell you
the way they unwrapped it too, Aaron, was really good. Where it's like they had like the tin foil, that kind of substance that surrounds a Pop-Tart. They ripped that open to reveal that the trophy is actually a toaster, which is fun.
I mean, when Hythloday first said it, I thought he was making a joke. But then I remembered that Hythloday is not funny.
How dare you?
Just kidding. I'm just
How
kidding.
dare you?
I'm not funny in that way.
Exactly.
My sense of humor, at least in this persona, is to state things that are literally true, but we live in an absurd universe. Like,
I mean,
like this fork of the simulation that we happen to be on is preposterous.
We were talking about simulations earlier, actually, before you got here.
That's right.
Oh, were you discussing the work of Jean Baudrillard?
Yes, but in correlation to us having we ran different simulations on playing Texas. When we play Texas.
Aaron says basically we are a lock. We're gonna win the Natty this year because in every simulation we've won it.
Every simulation.
These bowl games are very funny. Let's just get into them. I'll let you know, Hith. I've done
Pop-Tarts Bowl, dude.
No freaking research into any of these. I'm going Aaron style, just how I feel in my heart, because there's so many opt-ins, opt-outs. I'm just gonna be doing a lot of helmet analysis.
Here's what I wish they actually do. Oh, fingers crossed they're a little bit imaginative. I want them to, the portals the tunnels that the teams run out of?
Yeah.
Rather than having it be one giant opening, make it two smaller ones that have levers on top that actually move. So when the lever pops up,
you shoot out the team.
Guys come running out like a Pop-Tart coming out of a toaster.
I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's the Pop-Tart Bowl. The Cheez-It Bowl actually needs to step up its game.
Well, the Cheez-It Bowl is no more. They've switched their sponsorship to the Orange Bowl, or the Citrus Bowl.
The Citrus Bowl.
Which they're both the color orange, but I can't think of anything more disgusting.
I hope it's
like
the
Cheez-Its in citrus.
I was thinking that.
Oh, shit.
Like an orange.
I was wanting it to be the Citrus Bowl presented by High C.
That would make sense. That would make a lot of sense. The Cheez-It Bowl has been completely outshined by the god that is the Pop-Tart Bowl now.
Yeah, Pop-Tart Bowl rules. The more you talk about it,
you watch someone die and get devoured in the last Pop-Tart Bowl.
I love it.
Everyone loves it.
I wonder how much money they spent on that trophy.
Well, the other thing is, that was really cool about it is when I was just searching all of these really quickly beforehand. Like if you type in Alamo Bowl, it'll talk about the two teams in the Alamo Bowl. But Pop-Tart Bowl has been completely the SEO has been completely taken over by that living Pop-Tart mascot and the Pop-Tart.
Oh, funny.
Like the gimmick is way more important than the game, and that's what it should be in bowl season. Let's do it, y'all. Bowl Bonanza. Oh, that's a good song. Anyways, let's just go through these. Obviously, the slate is clean. We're all going against each other. How about everyone gets one super specific prediction that at any time you can choose to just throw it out there. It has to be not actually on the field football related. Like it could do something like personality wise, maybe even like a specific penalty wise, like if there's a fight or something like that. But just something strange.
Is it worth 3 points?
Yes, it is worth 3 points, as a matter of fact. I'm glad you asked, because I just pulled out of my butt, and I'm glad you took your shot. You yes-anded me. All right, let's go with this first one. We got the LA Bowl.
Oh, hot stuff.
I chose bowl games where it's like either they had something to do with the, Pac-12, rest in peace, or the Big Ten, or just
hold
a team.
Hold up. We're not just picking the Big Ten?
No, man. Yeah, that's right.
There's 39 bowls, dude. Well, we're not picking all of these.
I didn't pick them all. But I did choose some pretty dang interesting ones. That's why, let's rip off these Band-Aids.
That's why we're going fast, Hith.
We're going fast. UNLV versus Cal. Now, UNLV, they were definitely, champions of the Mountain West until they played the real champions of the Mountain West, Boise State. Those were their two big losses. I think only losses. I don't know. Versus Cal, who won't have their wonderful quarterback anymore. Unfortunately, he was a true golden bear, but you got to get paid. UNLV versus Cal. Rob Gronkowski once again hosting. I think he hosted before. I remember it was Jimmy Kimmel for a minute, but I don't know. I like Rob more than Jimmy Kimmel. Hot take. Aaron, who do you got?
Is he a wrestler?
No, he's a football player. He's a very famous football player, tight end.
Did you put this graphic together, or did you?
These graphics, I literally just went to Twitter or to their promotional pages.
If
we don't have a YouTube video,
he is posed like a WCW world champion.
Oh yeah, that's his vibe. You don't know who Rob Gronkowski is, and you're amazing, my man.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna bet with the house. Give me Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's probably wise. Especially with the QB not being there. I don't even know what situation UNLV is in, but Cal loses a lot. They're playing at a Mountain West level, and UNLV was one of the best Mountain West teams. So I will also go with UNLV. Oh, wow. That's right. Hith, who do you got in this one?
This is actually I filled out an entire bowl pick'em, like all 39 teams. In which it's it's weighted, right? So it's like, confidence points, and this one is the one in which I have the fewest amount of confidence points. And so like towards the bottom, I just had like math fill it out for me. Mm-hmm. This is the one so math had Cal picked, but now that I'm actually thinking about it, I'm going to go with UNLV on the rubric of whenever you have a highly ranked, like a Mountain West team that like participated in the conference championship game versus a Pac-12 team that like sucked. Always go with the motivated Mountain West team. Like they always destroy the Pac-12 team every time. Yeah,
like
so
the
give me
Vegas
UNLV.
Bowl and Yep, that's a pretty good way to put it. So we're aligned there. I put Rutgers, Kansas State here in the Rate Bowl.
What?
Hey, we all love Rutgers. They had, depending on who you're talking to, they either had like a really good season or kind of a disappointing season. But you got to realize it's Rutgers versus Kansas State, who also had kind of an up and down season. Like, that's all I really got to say, my man.
What is the concept of the Rate Bowl?
Good question. No answer.
And also, anybody in the marketing or anybody in the PR world realize that if you're not very articulated with saying the name of this bowl, it might come out sounding a little different. That is not very good.
Well, we'll hit it right. It is the Rate Bowl. That's all I got for you, dude.
Yeah. I hope on the Jumbotrons during the game, they just have like French fries versus hot dogs. Rate it.
You just rate it. That could be more interesting than this game.
Okay. So Rutgers.
This was the game that, oh man, this game has gone through a bunch of different iterations. This was for the last 5 years the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, so like a mortgage company. Apparently they've rebranded. They're no longer Guaranteed Rate. They're just Rate.
We all know how that went. We all know how that would, where they're like, well, technically, if we keep calling that, then we're actually gonna have to start guaranteeing this shit, and that sends the wrong message.
Thank you for that slice of life.
That is fun. So that's the deal. So who do you got, Aaron?
Gross. Well, whichever that I don't remember who you said it was on the right. I think you said Kansas State.
Rutgers and Kansas State.
I guess give me Kansas State.
You're sick and tired of seeing the Big Ten teams, clearly.
I don't yeah.
I think, I don't know, Rutgers has got to be desperate for a bowl win, I imagine. So let's just say Rutgers. What do I care? Back the Big Ten, as I've always said. Who do you got, Hith?
I have Kansas State.
Ooh, okay.
Every analytical model has Kansas State by somewhere between 7 to 9 points, and that's where the Vegas spread is as well.
Wow.
Well,
see, my simulations, they pay off.
Yeah. The Holiday Bowl, I don't believe.
I'm actually prepared to talk about the Big Ten teams.
I know.
That's what I thought we were doing.
No. Well, of course, we got to talk about Syracuse Wazoo right now in the Holiday Bowl. Wazoo, I believe, will also be out there. QB, who for a second was like portal, but portal. I saw someone on Twitter made a very funny joke where he's like, can the Ducks give some NIL for Mateer not to come play for Oregon, but to stay at Wazoo and beat Washington again? I thought that was a very funny joke. That would honestly be worth it. I don't know. Aaron, who do you got?
Who's the one on the left?
Syracuse. They're traveling quite a way.
Man, in the Holiday Bowl, huh?
Mm-hmm.
This seems like a real Syracuse, New York, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so this is a real East Coast versus West Coast for the Holiday Bowl. It's going to be a great game, I feel like. And I I'm going to say that Washington State's taking this one home.
This one feels easy for me. I feel like what Wazoo had was a pretty decent QB, and he's gone. And Syracuse, on the other hand, I don't know if he'll be starting, but that QB will be ready to play if he is. I bet you Syracuse is just on the upswing right now. Wazoo is definitely disappointed in their season at this point, I imagine. And also just that cloud above you of being like, and we're in the Pac-2. Like, what is this conference room?
Ooh, really?
Yeah, I'm going with Syracuse all the way, baby.
Well, maybe that's why they're going to play for something more. They're like, we're fucking bringing home a bowl.
Possibly. I mean, they lost to the Beavers. That's all I'll say. A team that loses the Beavers probably is going to lose a bowl game. Hith, who do you feel in this one?
1 second.
I know he's trying to look up who's staying, who's going. I like just ripping off the band-aids on this one too, because it's just like I don't know who's gonna be there. I don't even think they know fully who's gonna be there today. This game, I don't know. I just Syracuse just so clearly has more to play for, and it's for DirecTV. We should mention that too, the sponsor.
Right, they're gonna be pumping it.
Any experience with DirecTV, Aaron?
Yeah, maybe when I was a kid, it's how we first were able to get like cable. I think we had the direct, because that's a satellite, the little guy.
Yeah, I think that's a satellite.
Yeah, we definitely had one of those when I was in high school. Because they had like a package deal that was like, oh, this is a really great deal. We can't skip this one.
Because you were in the backwoods of Texas. And
so I was able to get like M2, which was really fun.
M2.
Do you remember M2?
Oh.
It used to be MTV2, but they shortened it to M2, and it's just where they actually showed like underground, everybody's made one music videos.
Back when they used to show and make those. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who do you got?
Syracuse. Sorry, I needed some time to finish writing some scripts.
I get it.
I wrote a script to pull in the various different analytical models and also the various opt-outs, transfers, the Vegas things. I had all that done for the Big Ten games. I just didn't know we were doing everybody else, so I had to rewrite the scripts to pull in everybody else.
I got to get my advantage any way that I can,
All right. Well, I defeated it, but I just needed an extra 30 seconds to scripts. So the answer is, Syracuse should win by about 8.5, 8.25 points. Oh boy, look at these opt-outs. Yeah, this is pretty bad. Wazoo's just gutted here.
Bummer.
Yeah, it's just a huge amount of their statistical production is gone, and Syracuse basically didn't have, two of their linebackers, one of whom was productive, but that's pretty low impact. Wazoo in the hand is gutted. Additionally, Wazoo is just like cursed. They're cursed by, you remember that Florida State fan who promised to eat poop out of a cup? And then he never did, and that cursed Florida State to losing all their games. Jake Dicker is cursed until he makes up, with Oregon State to lose all of his games.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the quarterback that you're talking about, Kyle McCord, he's absorbing all of Ohio State's power.
That is so true. That's so damn true.
He's on the revenge tour. So I don't know how that impacts, Wazoo. They're just like the victims of it. But he's powering up. He's
is Kyle McCord fully coming back next year too? Or is he going?
I'm not sure. He might be out of eligibility.
I don't know. It seems like Syracuse is just usually when one team is man, it'd be so, we didn't make the playoffs, but it'd be so cool to add one more win in a bowl game, as opposed to another team being are we even who's gonna be here next year? I don't know. It seems
that is the hardest thing about predicting bowl games is that I hate doing psychological factors, in analysis, but it's all of what bowls are is who's there and who won, and even of those guys who are there, who's really there, who's mentally not checked out, versus the guys who are oh man, we actually want to win this game, and dude, you can totally tell. It's part of, I was this year I had Tristan take over writing the post game film reviews for the Oregon game, so I could just be doing the opponent previews, and so which this wasn't real relevant for that part, the because we would just agree when garbage time was, but part of the training process was I had him working on other projects over the off season, so I had him do the Rashad Samples film review, which, so he was the running backs coach at SMU and for some NFL games, and and I had him do
still a duck, which is cool.
Yeah, that's true. He turned down some job offers and stuck around. And I had him watch the Derek Harmon film at Michigan State. I had him do a variety of projects, and so one of the things that we talked about, or I got him trained up on, is when to start the garbage time thing, which we have talked about on this podcast a bunch. Aaron, you always ask me that question, when to start garbage time, and analytical models will just, because they're not watching film, they're they have to use a mathematical formula, and they usually just do scored differential versus time. So it is not within 24 points in the second quarter, or not within 18 points in the third quarter, or whatever. But if you're actually watching film, you can do it in a more bespoke manner. And what I told Tristan is, there's a lot of things to be looking out for, look at the character of the plays that are being, are they all passes, or are they all runs? There's a couple other things to look for, but then, one of the top things that you'll notice when a team has just packed it in, and he's well, how am I possibly going to recognize that? I'm that's the easiest one. Your brain will just tell you something about 10 million years of evolution as a social species has hardwired human beings to recognize in other human beings when they are done, when they are not giving effort. He was I don't know, because that dude's a math professor, Tristan is, and he's I don't know, that sounds real squishy to me. I don't know about that. I'm
oh, I see, you're comfortable giving away other people's real life worlds, but not your own.
Yeah, where does he work? What school? No,
I'm not going to tell you that, but
professor?
Anyway,
sounds like Oregon.
Finally, to tell you the point of this story is with bowls, with bowl games, it's entire games will be garbage time on that that analysis that I just said, the like you can recognize from just seeing body language and effort and all these like sort of I know it's like soft sciences stuff, but like your brain will instantly lock into it. 30 million years of biological evolution, you are hardwired to pick it up. That guy is not giving effort. Like that guy does not want to be here. And you will watch entire bowl games where it's like this team didn't want to get off the plane. Like,
well,
yeah.
Let me ask you this then: who wants this game least? I went to someone else than I thought, but this is a random one too. This is two upsets that we've barely talked about, but the college football world has talked about these kind of spoiler makers here. I mean, they're not the boiler makers, but Georgia Tech at Vanderbilt. I had to bring it up. Vanderbilt upset Alabama. Was one of the biggest games of the entire season. Georgia Tech also upset some teams. They've had quite the magical season. They almost should have beat. We all know they should have beat Georgia. They upset Miami. They started the season by what was a big upset against Florida State, but then we learned Florida State was cursed because of the solo poop cup thing. They barely lost to Syracuse, which we know is a good team. So both these teams are actually like the plucky underdogs. Now they're against each other. Who's going to win in the Birmingham Bowl?
That's what that says, Birmingham.
Yeah. I went kind of biased here. I only have a Georgia Tech emblem here. I'm realizing not.
Yeah.
And Vanderbilt.
And they're playing Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt in the Birmingham Bowl.
Yeah. So
Georgia Tech.
Vanderbilt is in Tennessee. Yeah. Birmingham is in Alabama.
Right.
It's a close drive for both teams.
Yeah. So no real home field.
Give me Georgia Tech because it's all I get to look at. I don't even have any reference for what Vanderbilt is.
I knew you were going to do that.
Country band.
I will go. Both of them actually have won in kind of similar fashions too, with like really gutsy QB play. I feel like, and I should say Vanderbilt has showed up in games like against Texas was really, I don't know. They were at least in it until the end. I'm also going to go with Georgia Tech though. I feel like they do the scrappy thing even better than Vanderbilt, but who knows? Who do you got?
I have Georgia Tech. Kind of barely. Analytical models are somewhat split. The spread is pretty small. It's pretty even situation in terms of the opt-outs. Georgia Tech is losing one of their quarterbacks, but they have like four of them. I don't know. Georgia Tech barely, but it wouldn't surprise. Like the thing is about Vanderbilt, I alluded to this on an earlier podcast. Like you can handle Vanderbilt's offense if you know what you're doing. Like, and it's you need to study and prepare for it. And if you have studied and prepared for it, you can shut them down. And if you take them lightly and don't prepare for it, if you just think, oh, it'll be a bad team offense, I just need to run my standard stuff, then they'll rip you apart. And so I sort of think because of who Brent Key is that Georgia Tech will do the smart thing. And so they'll be fine. Like maybe Vanderbilt will do well against them just because Georgia Tech is not a fantastic team. I'm just saying that I don't think that Vanderbilt will get that like, haha, we surprised you because you weren't ready for this kind of thing.
Like neither team will have that advantage. It's the thing. But I just feel like a team that went like 8 overtimes with Georgia, that's like a perfect practice game to really show up against Vanderbilt. Like specifically the overtimes. That's what this game's going to look like. This was the game I thought we were about to talk about.
I do think on the real quick back on this, I also think that both of these are coached by, like, I don't think the we don't want to be here factor is going to apply to these teams. Like, it's not like either of these teams are like, oh, we had bigger aspirations than this, and we're like, screw this kind of deal. You know, like, I think they're both like, hey, this is cool, man. You know, and like, they're kind of plucky nerds. I think and they're playing relatively close to home. I think they'll have decent crowd split. Like,
and the difference,
I'm not saying this is going to be the best game in the world, but this won't make you feel bad for watching it.
It'll probably be competitive, like some of these other games probably won't. But like Vanderbilt, the difference between and we upset Alabama and we almost beat Texas and we won our bowl game. It's got to feel better than just being like, oh, it's that season where we beat Alabama. This is the game where it's like kind of opposite, where you're like, oh, there's a lot more talent on these teams, but who wants it at all? Kind of feel like both these teams' fan bases are a bit upset. I imagine Texas A&M fans, their bar is so freaking high without ever reaching it. Really,
yeah, dude.
They're pretty cutthroat, and it looked like they were gonna be playoff contenders, and then this big game, Texas A&M, and they just get shoved around until and pushed into a locker.
Hook 'em horns.
The Longhorns. Yep, hook 'em horns. So that's gotta hurt. USC, I mean, no one really knew what they're gonna be this season, but people were certainly expecting more from Lincoln Riley at this point as a USC head coach. So losing in a bowl game feels like it would, definitely not push the needle enough where it's like getting the USC higher ups angry enough to do something, but it would suck for their fan base. So I don't know who wants it more, who's more ready to blow it. I mean, I think I'll just say it right now. I think Texas A&M is going to win just because USC is they're good enough to be close in the games and also bad enough to lose it in the fourth quarter. So I think that exact thing is just going to happen again. So I'm going with Texas A&M. What about you, Aaron? You grew up near Texas A&M, as in the state of Texas.
Yeah, Brian. I would say I'm gonna go. I think USC needs this more to fill any form of relevance.
Yeah.
And so I have to pick them.
Yeah, they barely got to the bowl game. It feels
the
crazy.
Aggies are meant, if you call yourself an Aggie, what you should be doing is building satellites and bullshit like that. Not playing football.
No agriculture. We can't.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I get you.
Sure. I mean, that's where the ruby red grapefruit was actually plunked into our universe. Was at A&M.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's not naturally.
That's for nerds, dude.
Yeah. All right. That's a good little tidbit there. Heth, who do you got? I bet you I can guess in this one. Are you back in Lincoln Riley? Does that sound like something you would do?
Uh-oh.
I actually think your analysis is pretty spot on, Adam.
I thought you were telling
me that this is a game that's close enough that it'll be close in the fourth quarter, and so therefore, how could Lincoln Riley possibly win it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It feels like it seems like a bad sign when it's like, oh, okay, things are starting to shore up at USC. Like, we're starting to get a Lincoln Riley stamp on games. Things are looking similar, but they're just looking like losses. Yeah.
Yikes.
Cool. Texas
I mean, the models all basically have this, is 3.5 for Texas A&M. It sort of looks like, and sort of looking at the opt-outs, I think the opt-outs hurt. I mean, they have a sort of even number of opt-outs, but I think the opt-outs hurt USC more, like their offensive linemen and receivers that they need. Whereas A&M, it's like they're sort of more expendable. Like, if I can, I mean, there's their offensive linemen, but as far as I can tell, they're less of the guys that they start. I don't know. I think they're just going to use their running quarterback, and USC will have a hard time with them because USC will just derp it.
I bet you there'll be way more Texas A&M fans there than USC fans, like way more.
Yeah,
I genuinely think so.
USC fans are definitely, yeah, exactly. Like Texas A&M fans are dopey enough that they had a disappointing season, but they'll still show up.
Well, and it's like, I get to go to Vegas.
Will be like, yeah, USC fans would be like, I go to Vegas every weekend.
Exactly.
Like they're not going to show up to this. Like,
Adam, are you going to make that your prediction?
Yeah, sure. That's a good one because I think that's a pretty freaking solid one. Texas A&M fans show up, and it's not just like
you got to get like massively outnumbered,
massively.
It's clearly just a Texas A&M home.
Yeah,
game.
Not as many people.
That's got to be the criteria.
Big Ten championship game, but it will look like what Penn State looks like in the Big Ten
82%.
Like way more fans of Texas.
Yeah,
A&M.
it just looks like a Texas A&M home game.
Yeah. Or if I'll say this, if the crowd is crazy small, it's still got to be like there's 10 Texas A&M fans and there's one USC fan. Like they got to outnumber them like 10-1, But I bet you Texas A&M fans, because they'll smell like blood in the water, they'll know USC is like, oh, that weak West Coast team, and I get to go to Vegas and watch a win. Hell yeah! I bet you they'll really show up. Bad Boy Mowers, the Pinstripe Bowl. So this will be happening that's right, Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Boston College versus Nebraska.
This is legit.
Yeah, that's right. BC, that they already said bye to Castellanos, and now we got the Cornhuskers, which Dylan Raiola, he will be there. He will obviously be he's not transferring out. That would be disastrous. So he's going to try to show something. We'll see. Okay, who do you got?
Fun fact: Bad Boy Mowers is what Diddy calls his document shredding department.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, fact, dude. Fact. Look it up. Let's go with the one on the left that's not the Big N.
Boston College.
Yeah.
The Eagles.
Oh, boy. That was a bad pick.
Well, no, I mean, Nebraska's like not even used to being in bowl games anymore. So does that mean, well, Cornhusker fans are definitely going to show up. This is the kind of thing where it's like, finally, we're in a bowl game. It's against the team we can beat. Well, yeah.
We can go to New York.
Yeah, we can go to New York, watch a game Yankee Stadium. Like, that sounds fun as hell. Bostonians, though, they're spoiled for teams. They're going to New York all the time, most likely. They hate New York. And Boston College just ain't got, like, the fan bases. I mean, I like their fans. I got some friends that went to Boston College. But can Nebraska win this game? So they're going to have a bunch of people there. Can they win the game, though? I'll go with Nebraska.
Oh.
I'm not confident in this one at all, but I'll go with Nebraska. Who do you got, Hiff?
I'm going to go with Nebraska. I mean, the model's favorite, even with all the opt-outs, Nebraska's just had a ton of dudes hit the transfer portal. I wasn't wild about Nebraska this year. And sort of reviewing their transfers, like a lot of guys who were fairly productive for them, whereas Boston College doesn't look like, that other than their quarterback, who, like, there was some indication that he wasn't the best quarterback on the team.
Yeah.
Although honestly, they played him so much, like, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but I watched Boston College in one game. It was against Michigan State, and I wasn't really impressed by them. Like, I don't know, like the fact that the line hasn't moved, even as like Nebraska's entire team has hit the transfer portal, except for Dylan Raiola. Kind of makes me think that, like, Vegas has like very little confidence in Boston College and just thinks these teams aren't very good. But like Nebraska has a 5-star quarterback and Boston College has no quarterback. So go with the 5-star quarterback.
Could be a competitive game. Who knows?
I mean, it'll probably be competitive. It's just Nebraska's got a little more. Like, I don't know what Boston College does well. Like, that's sort of the basic thing. Whereas Nebraska has some pieces.
That's a good way to put it. Here we go in Orlando. So we know someone's going to have a little bit of an advantage here. That is the Miami Hurricanes, not in the playoffs. They're definitely bummed out there. Iowa State, same case. Like they said earlier, like they lost to Arizona State. So technically they could have made the playoffs if they won that game. I imagine still though, maybe Iowa State fans are feeling at least like, hey, we had a pretty good season. Like, we didn't even think we were going to make the Big 12 championship game. And at least we had a shot. I'm sure they're bummed losing to upstart ASU, but Miami, their fans truly got to be like, how the hell did we miss it? And we all know that Miami fan, like the playoffs, we know Miami fans are like barely willing to go the distance to get to their stadium to watch Miami play. And now they got to go to Orlando. I don't know. I don't see it, man. I don't see them going all the way to the Pop-Tart Bowl.
I mean,
Iowa State fans though, they got to be like desperate to leave Iowa. So that's something. Who do you got, Aaron?
Well, for sure, you're correct about one thing. Anybody that lives in Florida knows you do not go to Orlando during the holiday season. That is the worst time to go to that town. So you're right there. Nobody's leaving their couches. Let's go with Iowa State, Bob.
I'll tell you this. I believe Cam Ward is playing. You would hope so. Honestly, if like I feel like he shouldn't have even been nominated for the Heisman if you don't play in the bowl game. Because if you're like, what'd you do? Like, this is the time you're gonna end your career, you know.
This is also a really corny bowl game to be in, to be a Heisman contender.
Yeah, I mean,
that's embarrassing.
Yeah. We're going to get into another one a little later, so don't worry. With the Heisman winner. If Cam Ward, who I believe is, I'm just going to type his name into the Google machine right now to see if they think he's going to play.
According to every site that I've seen, there's very few opt-outs for this game.
Oh, cool.
Wow, all right.
That is awesome. If there's very few opt-outs for this game, I have a hard time believing Miami will either win another miraculous close game that shouldn't have been a close game, or they're going to straight up blow out Iowa State. Because I know it was a little bit of an anomaly what ASU did, but I think Miami has that in them to like possibly do something like that. So I think Miami will win this game. Honestly, I think they'll do it comfortably too. You said Iowa State,
set me up to pick Iowa State, or did I just do that on my own volition?
I don't know. You probably just still hate Cristobal, man. Get over it, dude.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. I'm fine with him. Like I said, I've let that axe go because what I realized, if it wasn't for him leaving, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah,
so we should actually thank him for getting the fuck out of the way.
Since you've been gone! Basically.
Sit down.
Aaron, it's also, I mean, according to according to Mario Cristobal, he's got a quarterback that's even better than Justin Herbert in this game. Cam Ward. So, yeah. Hith, who do you got in this one?
I got Miami. I kind of think Iowa State were frauds all year.
I think so too. I think so too.
I mean, like Miami's kind of frauds, but they're like, I mean, their offense is genuinely good. They just sort of, it's just that their defense sucks. But I don't really think Iowa State's offense is good enough to take take advantage of it. I am actually somewhat interested schematically to see John Heacock's defense, like his sort of air raid killer defense versus Miami's offense. I think there's just like sort of too much like wacky Cam Ward magic that like out of structure. Like they still wind up winning out of structure. Like that's the thing about Miami that just makes them unstoppable, is that the out of structure plays just wind up shredding you. Like that's why they have so many like comeback wins and so forth. And I just don't think Iowa State has the ponies, for it. So yeah, like give me Miami all day.
Fascinating.
Any Pop-Tart predictions either of you want to make? This would be the time to do it.
I think Cristobal tries to get out of it. Like he tries to escape. Like he just sort of like runs, down the tunnel, and it's like, where's Mario Cristobal? Like
he just like runs away from the game.
Yeah, it's just like, or like he fakes an injury, like, oh no, so like he goes out to shake hands, and he's like, oh, I twisted my ankle, and the handshake.
You just got to do a clutch at the chest.
Or suddenly Miami just looks like a way better team than they've looked all season. Someone else really coaching it. Yeah. There we go. Now,
to answer your question, though, Adam, I do not have any Pop-Tart predictions, but I do have loads of creative ideas on how to utilize a Pop-Tart as your gimmick.
Hit them up. They're already doing pretty well. I'm not sure if they need you, but if you got a really good one,
don't worry, I'll tweet at them.
Maybe they will. Like if you would have pitched, if this didn't happen already, if you were like, okay, this sounds like an Aaron idea, where you would have been like, okay, picture this. You get a giant toaster, put it on the field, have someone wearing a Pop-Tart mascot costume that gets lowered into it, and have the players eat him. That sounds like an idea you would have already said. So top that.
Well, damn.
Okay, Alamo Bowl.
How about this? Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Alamo Bowl, baby. And I chose this one because it feels like, which is, obviously very Colorado centric. It feels like this is just kind of the feeling of the game, where it's like, and BYU's there. Not that like Colorado is so much better than BYU, but it's just they just demand so much more ice, apparently. Like BYU was undefeated for so long, and it still felt like they were not really getting much talk, kind of deservingly so. Really strange to have two in-conference teams play a bowl game. Do you have much memory of that happen very often, Hithloday?
It's like pretty rare.
Yeah, pretty rare, pretty strange. But you get the pairing at the same time, where it's like these two teams didn't play each other, and it kind of felt like, man, that would have been an interesting thing, where BYU's like, they do everything well enough, and then they got lucky, and it made it so they were really winning, a pretty bad conference for a long time, until Arizona State showed up. And then Colorado just throwing the ball, just YOLO, baby. Having a Heisman winner. That is right. Travis Hunter won the Heisman. And power to him, honestly. I would have been fine with Ashton, but yeah, Travis Hunter. I mean, he's certainly a good athlete. I think a little overrated. I don't know if he should have won like the Biletnikoff. That seems kind of ridiculous to me, but whatever. And Shadur Sanders, obviously, is going to be throwing up a storm. Who do you got? You going with the hype train that is Colorado, or BYU with the good old-fashioned American values that is the BYU Cougars?
Tough call, bud.
Yeah.
Let's shake it up a little bit. Let's go with BYU.
Ooh. I mean, it is interesting where it's like, with this Colorado team, it's like I can totally see a blowout in either direction. But dang, I don't know, actually. The fact that the star players are playing in this game, which I believe they are, I'll just do the generic thing and just bet on Shadur Sanders throwing the ball a lot enough and BYU not being able to keep up.
Sure.
I'll go with Colorado. maybe I'm just being brainwashed by the amount of times I've seen Coach Prime in a commercial. But yeah, no. Hif, who do you got in this? You back in the pack, the former pack? We're going with a team that was almost in the pack.
I don't think BYU was ever close to being in the Pac-12. I got Colorado. It should actually be a pretty good game. Like they're pretty close. They're pretty closely rated in F+. Both of them they're basically like top 30 teams in both offensive and defensive metrics. Colorado's just a little better. And yeah, that's what it comes down to. Colorado's just a little bit better of a team. So I'm going with Colorado, but it should be pretty evenly matched. Should be actually be a pretty good game.
I would almost want to change my super specific prediction. I really shouldn't, but I almost want to just be this because this should be worth like 1 million points. This will be Coach Prime's final game at Colorado, because I can just imagine where he's just like if you were smart, it's truly probably not going to get better than this. And if there were a different school looking for a hire, which some team's going to fire somebody and maybe get desperate enough where it's like, hey, you know what, Coach Prime turned that thing around pretty quickly, and with his son going to the NFL, with Travis Hunter leaving. The thing that's really hard to believe is Deion Sanders being like, all right, now it's really time to get to work. All the fruits of my labor of not recruiting at the high school level. Time to really get into that. Like, you know what? I think I was being lazy being Texas A&M. I am changing it. This is going to be Coach Prime's final game at Colorado.
Huge.
There's no coaching rumors. I'm throwing that out there.
So you're not going to be able to collect on those points then for a little while, though.
That is true. like he'll immediately announce it. Probably not going to happen. Yeah, just for that reason. I guess it's not a good pick because I just wouldn't be able to go. Just
save
know
it.
this.
Hey, put those 3 points back in your pocket and save it for whenever you're ready.
I'll save
it. I thought you're Texas A&M. That was a good one.
That is a good one.
That was a good pick.
But if there were, I would love to choose this pick. I just can't. The results will come in after the election, if you will. Who do you got?
I already picked Colorado, but I do have I want to put down my super specific pick for this game.
Oh shit!
Prediction is fight.
No.
Yes.
I don't know why, but there is always a fight in a BYU game. Colorado's definitely game for it. Like it's not a super disciplined team, and it should be like real competitive. I think it's going to get chippy. Both of these teams feel like they got stuff on the line. Like they're going to be, competitive for it. And I definitely see this going for a throwdown.
You nailed it with that pick.
Player fight or just in general could happen.
I mean, if it's a coach fight,
that goes into those stands.
That's still or the stands. Any fight. Mascot fight, absolutely. If Ralphie just gores the amazing BYU mascot.
I don't know if Ralphie's traveling to this, but Chip versus that monstrosity that BYU puts out there.
Man, you nailed that so hard. This is the perfect storm for a fight. BYU, famously one of, a little less now, but still, famously known as
they got into
the dirtiest team
season this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Colorado, especially with Colorado, where it'll be Shadur's getting sacked 5 times in this game. Eventually, lineman's going to get pissed and he's like, well, I can't block, but I can punch this guy. And then that'll clear everyone. Yeah, no, you nailed it, man. Or it'll be easy money. Aaron's still waiting on that pick from you. Iowa Hawkeyes versus Missouri Tigers in the Music City Bowl at Nissan Stadium, of course. I'm not gonna watch this game if I can avoid it. Sounds boring.
Oh yeah, this game's gonna suck.
That's how I feel. Like I'm gonna just actively not watch.
Or it'll be like from a pure football sense, it'll actually be real engaging. You know, as engaging as like a 3-2 game can be.
Yeah.
But it's just like you don't want to watch it.
No, I just don't. I don't like this kind of football. And like Missouri is never a team I've been interested in at all. It's very strange. Number 19, Missouri Tigers. So,
are you kidding? They got ranked again?
That's what this says right here. SEC, baby.
God.
Aaron, first of all, do you consider Missouri part of the South?
Oh, yeah, but like the bad part.
Okay, I like it. Second question. Second question. Iowa versus Missouri. Who you got?
Oh my God. On what basis is this team ranked?
I don't know.
Money, 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 money. I will go with the Hawkeyes.
Aaron, I think I'm gonna join you. Purely I think that ranking next to Missouri only hurts them. Like they don't really deserve it. It makes Iowa like, now they're the underdog here.
Right.
And it can get them to 9 wins. That'll feel like the most classic freaking Iowa season of all time. And it'll just be ugly and muddy and at the Music City Bowl. Yeah. No, I got Iowa. Hith, who do you got?
Yeah, give me Iowa too. Like the models and stuff. Like the Vegas has this as 3 points for Mizzou. Like the models have this as like slight for Mizzou, but like Iowa's like the transfers are such that like okay, here's most significant absence for Iowa's Cade McNamara. What? They already benched him, and Iowa doesn't need a quarterback. Meanwhile, Mizzou's most significant departure is Luther Burden. Their superstar wide receiver. No way. Missouri might not put up a point.
Wow.
Again, man, I'm not that wasn't hyperbole. I've described Iowa as having a binary defense.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a good offense, you name your score. If you're a bad offense, you get blanked. I think Missouri minus Luther Burden might be just a straight up bad offense and might get blanked. And so that. Iowa wins this game like 6-0.
I love that. That's great. Maybe I will watch this game. Now, this is a game that is both interesting and may be absolute dog shit when we get to it for a lot of reasons. It's the ReliaQuest Bowl, as we all know what that means. I'm guessing that's an insurance thing. I don't know. Michigan versus Alabama.
Booking your travels.
Sharon Moore versus Kalen DeBoer Part 2. Exactly. Yeah. That's right. We all know how that. Well, the first time it was pretty interesting. So Alabama is furious that they're here, even though they are there because they lost multiple games, right. Against some teams that they totally.
As the very wise running back from the team they're going to play, Well Mullings said, some folks got to learn how to lose.
No joke. Yeah. Or, you can make it like a federal crime to taunt someone for when you do lose.
State.
Well, he said he was trying to make it a felony. That's what I was reading.
Felonies are at the state level.
Oh, well, I went to state school, so you can't put that on.
All right.
Michigan versus Alabama. Alabama, obviously, they're ranked number goddamn 11. Michigan wouldn't be in this game if they hadn't won the national championship and last season and weren't, Michigan, one of the winningest team of all time.
This is why here the other thing about the Big Ten has stupid good bowl tie-ins. Like all of their bowls are like 3 days later than they should be, and against like two ranks better of opponents than they should. And, and it's because like TV, the networks all want them, right?
TV demands it.
Yeah, like because the fans will show up, and because like the fans are like, let's get out of Minnesota or wherever in December and go to where's this game?
Tampa, Florida.
Yeah. Let's get the hell out of Detroit and go to Tampa. So like they have. The Big Ten like leads the league in bowl tie-ins, for that reason. And then you look at the Big Ten's bowl record, and the Big Ten always gets smashed. And that's the reason why, is that they get all, everybody's playing a more difficult and later game than they should, because their tie-ins are too good.
This one is, because like. I mean, without the win over Ohio State was amazing, but without that, like this Michigan team is especially like had a terrible season.
Well, the other thing is that unless Michigan is playing Florida, in which for some reason Michigan versus Florida, like they just destroy that team. It's like they are on a special mission historically to absolutely annihilate Florida and Florida only. But except for that, if Michigan is playing an SEC team, it's like they get the one exception was last year in the semifinal, but it's Michigan against SEC is they always lose every time. Every time they lose, and just to like get embarrassed. It's hysterical how badly the Michigan's record is against SEC teams in bowl games, except for Florida, where it completely flips on its head.
And it looks like we got like the running back Justice Haynes from Alabama's out, or is opting out, or transfer portal. Donovan Edwards is sitting out because the NFL draft.
Dang.
Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan, he's injury and NFL draft. Mason Graham, defensive tackle, NFL draft preparation. So like some of Michigan's few shining stars are sitting out of this game. Alabama, I believe, also has like some injury and such, but and like the way Alabama has been playing offense, like Michigan in theory, it's like, oh, maybe you can stop the run, stop the mobile QB. But they're probably not going to be, doing Ohio State's full-on strategy. So Alabama, for a million reasons, it seems like is really, really, really going to win this game, mainly because Michigan loses a lot of games this season. Alabama.
Do we get to pick, Adam?
Oh, who do you got?
Alabama,
that's right. Greenball, Alabama. And Hith. I mean, it's probably gonna be Alabama, right?
Yeah, Alabama.
What a silly game.
This is the game that I have like of the 39 bowls. I have like 36 confidence points.
Yeah, this is like the obvious one, especially when it's a decision made by a suit. Clearly, like a non-ball knower.
Then again, Alabama lost to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt.
So who knows?
And Michigan beat Ohio State. So like I don't know,
I guess it is. It could just be like Michigan's like, can you imagine if we won that? Like this season's like completely saved with a bowl win and a win over Ohio State. Hell yeah. Now we got Tony the Tiger Bowl. They're mediocre. That's right. Louisville, Washington.
This little ad that they put together for it looks like it was done by the internal team just for like a email. Don't forget about the picnic. That's the worst advertisement I've ever seen in my entire life.
They don't care. These teams care though. Like they'll probably be pretty competitive, I think.
That's why I'm going with the Huskies.
Going with the Huskies, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Louisville.
They're great.
They beat Clemson. I remember they lost. Like they've kind of had
Louisville's quarterback this season was.
That's right, Tyler Shuck. Shuck the Duck.
Oh,
is he playing? Is he healthy? Is he? Do you know?
No, he's not playing in this game.
Oh,
it's a shame too. Would have given him the opportunity to beat Washington.
Yeah,
Washington in 2020, if you recall, opted out. Jimmy Lake.
That's right.
Denied Tyler Shuck the opportunity to defeat him.
I kind of feel like Washington is actually this is a pretty dang good game. I wonder who they're starting at QB for Washington. I would go with the young buck.
I'd go with the kiddo. Yeah.
Yeah. Why the hell wouldn't you?
If you started him against Oregon, why wouldn't you start him in the bowl? If you already fed him to the Tigers,
Yeah, and now you're feeding him to Tony the Tiger. Forget about it. I'll go with Washington. This could be one of the more watchable games, actually, especially if Washington loses. Who do you got, Hith?
This one's funny. The analytical models all love Louisville, are all over Louisville. And yet Vegas only has Louisville by like 2 points, and like that caught my attention when I was doing I was looking at this game. It was by far the biggest discrepancy of any of the teams that popped up in terms of analytical models versus what Vegas had it. And so I actually dove in and took a look, and that's what. And the reasons the opt-outs is basically Washington has had very, a couple of them are significant. They've lost a couple of linebackers who are significant. They've lost, they've lost a comparable number of dudes to the transfer portal. It's just they're almost all backups or sort of mostly less significant guys. Whereas Louisville is, they've lost. They lost their quarterback. They've lost, their top producers at offense and defense at almost every position. Like, I really feel like I just don't know who's going to throw up or show up and throw the ball, catch the ball, produce havoc plays, tackle, do anything. I really like Jeff Brom's record in bowl games is pretty pathetic. I just don't actually think you were suggesting this should be a pretty good bowl game. And if it were I think if these two teams were playing at full, like a regular season game, if this were an out of conference game during the regular season at full strength, I would actually be pretty interested in watching the game. Hell, I might make a cheeky prediction. Well, it's not being played in Husky Stadium, so therefore, give me Louisville all day. But just looking at the changes in the roster, I actually think it flips around pretty heavily to favor Washington. Washington looks like a team that's trying to hold the team together and play for next year. The whole thing with Washington is that this was a year zero for the Jed Fish regime, and especially making the quarterback change, was very clearly a signal of we're building for something, for the future. Whereas Louisville is sort of
Yep, I agree. Let's well, first of all, what are your guys' thoughts on Frosted Flakes?
Terrible for you. I wouldn't suggest eating them.
Well, yeah.
Sugar frosted carbs, give me a break, man.
Yeah, okay. Here's the thing. I have a garbage sweet tooth, all right? And cereal is something where I'm genuinely I have to be I guess I agree with y'all, because I'm I can't keep it in my house, because
here's what it is, brother. This is what you do.
What's that? Well, don't buy it.
I'm on the same boat. Frosted Flakes though is bottom of the barrel. I don't want
let's say in cereal, cereal's bad for you. How do you guys feel about it for cereal's sake?
Yeah, here's what I do. I love there's a Lucky Charms knockoff called Matey Oats or something like that. It's the bag one. It's $6 a big ass bag.
Yeah.
Those are the best. And the marshmallows stay marshmallowy for a really long time, and it stays crunchy for a long time.
I like any sugary cereal, but the marshmallowy ones aren't necessarily mine. If you had to eat cereal, even if it was for a random, dessert, so don't even think about it as breakfast or something, or you then I'll eat the most standard, boring, somewhat healthy cereal. If you had to eat a cereal, which one would you choose?
You know that cereal refers to all cereal crops, right? So I would just say, steel cut oats with black currants is
Honestly, we'll let
This
you have
fucking
that
guy.
one. We'll let
This
you have
fucking
that.
guy.
We knew it was
If
coming.
you're talking about like
knew
the
it was coming.
the colorful kid cereal boxes,
Yeah.
I'm partial to the
Little
it
8-year-old Hithliday
it was
wakes up
it
on
was
Christmas morning.
it was my grandfather's cereal, so like when we visit him, he would
Grape nuts.
it was the raisin bran, but it had
Oh.
the raisins were covered in something. It was
Yep.
like covered in nougat or something.
Yep.
Ooh, okay.
I forget what those were, but like I can't name the cereal, but it was the raisins that had junk on them.
Those sound good. Okay.
If I'm going marshmallows, because it's a different kind of kibble they give you, then that's got to be Lucky Charms or this really good knockoff one. If I'm going toasted flake, cinnamon toast crunch all day long.
That's a good one. That's a good one too. Yeah. Any cereal. I'm down for any fucking cereal.
Fruity Pebbles, I can destroy a whole box in one day. Easy.
Yeah, I like any kind of fruitier ones. I love that the Flintstones are still on the boxes for some. I love that the Flintstones have such brand recognition still to this day for some.
It's cheap, dude.
I guess. Anyways, New Year's Eve bowl, Cheez-It, Citrus bowl, bad pairing because everyone's thinking, oh, Cheez-It's, yum. Citrus, ugh, that'd be a great Cheez-It. Ugh.
Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, weird, yeah.
Nasty.
Stupid idiots.
South Carolina, who is kind of the like, they were almost the
maybe the best team in the SEC this year.
Possibly, very well, possibly could be the best team. And then Illinois, who's absolutely not the best team in the Big Ten, but was a workman-like, sturdy, pretty dang great Illinois season. Marching down the field in very short, small, intricate.
Here's what I like about Illinois: their offensive and defensive ranks in F+ were identical, 47. Like they're the most like average and identically average team that you can name.
They really are. And watching them, it felt like it. Like I felt like I could have almost guessed. They're 47 in both categories. South Carolina has been they had some pretty huge moments actually, including beating Clemson. They beat a playoff team to end their season, and they didn't make it and could be the best SEC team. Is the best SEC team better than the fourth or third best Big Ten team? What do you think, Aaron?
Yes, they are.
Oh, wow. The Chanticleer. No, that's not them. They're the Gamecocks. I have always loved that fun little Gamecock logo there. We beat them in the March Madness last season. That was fun. I like that game quite a bit. They're definitely going to beat Illinois. Sorry, y'all. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Illinois.
Wow.
Because Illinois wants to be that. Like, this is huge. They're at a New Year's Eve game. They're at the Cheez-It Bowl. They're going to,
I don't know, man. I mean, their coach willingly got coated by mayonnaise in the last bowl game.
Gross.
Not only that, but took the people who were hauling the keg of mayonnaise over his head, like weren't strong enough to do so, and kind of dropped it and whacked his head, and he was still smiling through it. Like,
yeah,
he's like, I'm a hot dog.
Wait, you dip your hot dogs in mayonnaise?
I've had
mayonnaise,
I've
chili,
had some
shredded
mayonnaise.
cheddar cheese.
Wait, what? Mayonnaise, chili,
shredded cheddar cheese, baby doll. Couple of tomatoes on top. Mwah.
My great grandma, when I was a little kid, made me a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich one day. Ain't that the most like
it wasn't fluff?
50 shit? No, it was peanut butter and mayonnaise. It was not as gross as you would think.
Of course.
But still pretty gross.
That was the day you left the LDS church.
Yeah, that was it for me.
You're like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Started all your anti-BYU comments.
I was like, No, I love those guys. Who do you got?
Yeah, I have South Carolina. I think disagree with you strongly. I think he's very into all of it. I think he will somehow eat a bowl of Cheez-Its that is also like got oranges in it. Like it would be gross. Like grapefruit studded with Cheez-Its will somehow be the thing, and he'll eat them.
How funny would it be if they dumped mayonnaise on him again at the Cheez-It bowl?
Like they just the mayo people will track him down.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever had Lucas before?
Is that a mayo or
no? Lucas is a citrusy salt candy. You can put it in beer. It's just a Mexican candy.
Oh,
it's just salt, and it has lemon and lime flavoring inside of it. Maybe, but you can get some that are hot. I think Cheez-It is going to come out with their own version of that, where rather than being salty cheesy, it's like eating salty lemon lime. Limon.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like a lime is the only form of citrus I could see even somewhat working on a Cheez-It, like adding that kind of flavor.
Yeah, you just have to remove the word cheese, lime it, and now it makes sense.
Hopefully there's another like 12 interceptions in the Cheez-It Bowl. They had a history of that. And the final non-big one, we still got some more games to pick up for this.
Good God, how many more, man?
Don't worry.
Adam, this is excessive.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. This could be the final.
And that's coming from a guy who has all the numbers.
I know, dear Lord. Minnesota versus Virginia Tech.
That is definitely a Big Ten game.
Yeah, we have to choose this game, which has a name, I'm sure, but the Mayo Bowl. It's the Mayo Bowl. Fuck it. I'll say Minnesota, cuz
I'm going with the VT, baby.
Going with the VT. Hith, who do you got?
This one is the opposite of the Louisville Washington game, where Minnesota is favored by the analytical models, but not by much. But then Vegas is like heavily into like by about a touchdown for Minnesota. So that piqued my interest and I checked it out. And again, it's sort of the same thing. Virginia Tech just, tons of opt-outs and stuff. I
just can't pick them.
Virginia Tech is like one of these, where they, like they just don't want to be there. Like they just had like a shit season. Like they were picked as like win the ACC. Like the ACC conference championship game was supposed to be this real throwdown between like, Miami and Florida State, but like Clemson's going to have this resurgent season, and Virginia Tech, and look out for North Carolina State as this dark horse. And it's like most of the teams just had super disappointing seasons. SMU came out of nowhere, and Clemson sneaks into the into the playoffs. Just like the ACC just sucks. Like that's what everybody needs to wrap their heads around. For like the last like 5 years, just this conference just straight up blows, and you really can't go wrong. Picking against it in come bowl season. Just like it's a bad conference.
I agree. Well, technically, in true Quack-12 fashion, I was going to say by far the most worthwhile to talk about games, the games that we shouldn't have talked about any of these other bowl games. We should,
but now we have to blast through them.
Well, we don't have to. I mean, I guess we should pick. Let's pick the first rounds. All right. Let's hey, they're at least interesting. There's a lot more to talk about.
Holy shnikes.
It's this whole side of the bracket here, right? Let's just talk about who we think will win these bottom games here, the 6 and 11 and the 5 and the 12. And I'm just gonna pick right now for me. I think it's pretty clear. I definitely got Penn State beating SMU. It just spelled it out for you. All right. ACC stinks. SMU wasn't even good enough to actually win the ACC. But they were good enough to win a bunch of games in the ACC. Clemson, we know, they just kind of look they seem happy just to be there. They are the 12th seed.
I mean, Clemson should have lost to SMU. If it weren't for SMU handing them 14 points at the beginning of the game, SMU would have beat them.
Yeah. And like Texas, like they may be kind of fraudulent too, but Clemson, they're not even fraudulent. They just look like, oh, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. But, through winning the championship of a bad conference, they are here. So I think in my head, it's pretty clear the favorites. I'm going with Penn State and Texas. Is anyone not going with Penn State and Texas?
Well, there's no way I can go with SMU because, and if Texas is playing at home, it's a guaranteed shoe-in win.
You think? Oh yeah, that is true too. Penn State at home, Texas at home. So, Hith, is there any reason to believe that's not going to happen?
Throw shit on the field and
yeah. And apparently nothing bad will happen because I heard they were going to try to hunt down those students, but then I heard another.
Wait, what is this?
Texas students were throwing garbage on the field when they were losing, and then supposedly the NCAA was like, Texas, you have to find all those students through video and ban them forever. And they just kind of didn't do anything.
And they just didn't. I'll save you some time. I've got the home team in all the round 1 games.
Yeah, that feels about right. And right now it seems like, Hith, in your opinion, I mean, it feels like it's gonna change next year, but in your opinion, is this whole 12-game seeding system, does it need to change? Like, are you thinking it's a bit flawed?
I think they should do the NFL style re-rank after the first round.
Yes.
Yeah.
To give the top So basically the teams that get the first round bye have an actual advantage.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It seems obvious.
It's like it works. Just do the thing that already works. Yeah. Why are you trying to make a new thing?
Yeah. I agree.
It's not patented. It's not like you have to ask the NFL for permission to use their ranking system.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, it is fun that Boise State is number 3 and ASU is number 4, and get buys, and the SEC is not, Georgia's there, but is not as represented. That is fun, but it needs to change a little bit. And then, so Hith, we already know it makes sense. Like, you're going with Notre Dame. I mean, this is at least the closer side of the bracket. Notre Dame and Ohio State. At least these are this is some food for thought. Obviously, the home teams are going to have huge advantages. I love the idea that what I heard, Tennessee flooding Ohio State's field, supposedly, or, buying a bunch of tickets. Mm-hmm. Probably not enough to actually, change. But apparently Ohio State ain't that loud. That's what I hear. I want to choose an upset.
I think Tennessee over Ohio State is the most likely of the 4 first-round teams.
Indiana, it is concerning how every time they've been like, okay, here's a real defense, they're, what looks like an amazing offense fully becomes stopped. It doesn't mean they're not good enough to win that game. So if Indiana beats Notre Dame, it'll absolutely be a low-scoring affair, and they just pulled out. And now it'll kind of look like that Michigan game, honestly.
Michigan.
I want to pick an upset. I'm gonna go with Indiana beats Notre Dame. I'm going with Indiana, and I'm going with Ohio State.
I'm going Indiana. I'm going Tennessee.
Ooh. I hope you're right.
If I were gonna, I'm not gonna pick any upsets in the first round. But if I were gonna, I would pick Tennessee. I think of all the teams on Oregon's side of the bracket. So those 6 teams. So that's excepting Oregon. So Tennessee, Ohio State, SMU, Clemson, Texas, Arizona State. So those teams. I think the most dangerous of them, like meaning the team that on their best day, like the best version of that team, is Tennessee. Like, I think they genuinely have the scariest defensive line. Like, it's super deep. Like that. Like, no joke. They rotate like 3 different, like up to 12 guys who are all like as good as each other. Like their defensive line is no joke good. And then their passing offense, they have a good running back who can actually break tackles. I don't really like their offensive line, but their running back kind of makes up for it. And then their passing game is, if they pull their heads out of their butts, their passing game is lethal. The problem is their heads are often quite lodged way up their butts. Like they make a lot of mistakes. But it's like if they play the mistake-free version of Tennessee is the scariest offense. Like scarier even than Ohio State's.
It'd be fun to see Dante Thornton versus U of O.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
I mean, that's honestly the biggest. When I say head up their butt, the biggest mistake that they make is they don't start Dante Thornton at the Z receiver position. Instead, they have a real bum starting at Z receiver. And then when they swap in Thornton for, they just have Thornton come in as for specialty plays. So like, well, it's time for Thornton to take the top off. And then he has a 70% success rate and unadjusted 19.2 yards per target. It's like bonkers. The throw always connects for like 50 yards. It's like, are you just always have him in? Like, there's no downside, like
they're going to beat Ohio State and they're going to listen to this podcast and they're going to be like, oh, let's do that. And they're going to have 500
like
yards.
That guy could totally cook Ohio State's corners. Like if they just figure it out and do that, and then Iamaleava like doesn't like throw a bunch of interceptions. I mean, that's the other thing is their quarterback's a kid and he makes a bunch of mistakes. And it's kind of like watching Aiden Childs all over again. Dude with a big arm who can sling it. And like when he's on, it's like, oh man, he can really light you up. But then also he's going to make mistakes and he's going to throw interceptions and the ball's going to be inaccurate, a lot. I mean, it's like, it's just Aiden Childs. Well, I probably didn't need to belabor that at all. It was just like watching Aiden Childs all over again. But it's like, look, man, like when they're on, like when he's not making mistakes, when they have the right wide receivers in and when they just throw the ball down the field, it's like 80-yard pass after 80-yard pass. And you're like, oh shit. Like, and then on top of that, a defensive line that can really wreck stuff against Ohio State, which remember, like that's the thing about Ohio State is like their offensive line kind of sucks and Chip Kelly is kind of stupid sometimes. I mean, Tennessee could totally do it. It's just, it's like, run the simulation 10 times and Tennessee wins like maybe 3 of them. But like, hey, we could win in we could live in one of those 3 worlds. And, it's not terrible odds. And B, like those 3 games that they win, they're blowout wins.
And listeners, root for Tennessee so we can get, because when are we going to get a Tennessee
you should absolutely root for Tennessee. Like they're a much weaker opponent than Ohio State, like all things considered.
Definitely.
Because like I said, 7 out of 10 times they'll play a derp game. They have a good record because they had a very weak schedule. Like I'm not kidding. Look up their schedule. It's a joke. Like if they played a Big Ten schedule, they'd have like 7-8 wins, maybe not 10.
Well, when are we going to get a Tennessee fan on this podcast otherwise than this game? It'll have to be a playoff thing. So
now tracks me.
That's been the Bull Bonanza, but we still got one thing left because, well, obviously he called out the fight between Colorado and BYU. That's going to be guaranteed 3 points. Love that one. I said Texas A&M fans show up big, like at least 5-1 ratio over USC fans. Now, Aaron, we're gonna need something super specific. Yes.
Something super specific.
Yes.
Is Notre Dame will have 2 interceptions in the first half that will cost them the game.
So they'll throw 2 interceptions against Indiana.
Actually, that's a really good one.
Yeah. If that happens, you'll be looking like a genius. Lose game. They throw 2 interceptions in the first half, you said? Or
Yeah.
You shouldn't need that one, but like, yeah. Well, that's a good one, man.
There we go. Boom,
I got the stamp.
boom.
You hear that? I got the Hitler stamp. That means it's real.
It'll be so nuts.
It's just that it's super plausible. Like that's absolutely the way that Notre Dame loses this game if they lose it. Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or here, let me modify that so that Aaron has a good chance of winning it. That they commit inexplicable early turnovers. Like
I was about to say maybe it's
like it may not be interceptions, maybe it's like fumbles or some special teams gaffes, but just like relatively early in the game, maybe even early second half. Like let them get away with that. Like maybe first play of the opening kickoff of the second half.
It's one of those ones
where it's like, and then Notre Dame goes into panic mode.
Yeah.
Where like Notre Dame goes into panic mode. They're like, oh no, we're like, because Notre Dame loves to play with the lead, right? And then shut it down because they got good running backs. And so now that they're in panic mode, like then they sort of run themselves into the buzzsaw.
Yeah.
I'd love it.
Because they can't just sit on the lead, which is totally their game. And so that they just keep making mistakes and the mistakes compound. Like that's absolutely the way that Indiana wins this game if they win it.
I hope Aaron just gets a perfect 100% for bowl Bonanza. I genuinely do. It'd be very
fun. I got some seriously weird ones out there.
Well, that has been the Quack-12 podcast. Once again, thanks a lot today of Addicted to Quack for coming over here. Go over there, read everything they've got, because even though football season is ending, basketball season is up. And they cover everything over there, everything duck related. So get on over there.
Yeah, we've obviously got fantastic basketball coverage. Also, we're putting up lots of statistical analysis. Like Tristan just emptied the clip for his all his player grades for the offense, and there's going to be a little later one for the defense. There's also Thomas has been producing. Some historical statistical stuff and also has a comparative yards per play analysis coming up. So lots of good, hey, we got a long time before the Ducks play again, but we got a lot of data to take a look at for football fans on top of basketball. So yeah.
Ooh, data. Sounds good to me.
Nerd.
All right, Aaron.
I hired a bunch of stats people to look at this stuff while I watch film. So I didn't have to keep that's what I did last year. It's just like, man, I got to keep producing articles when I just want to be watching film during December.
That's
like I should hire people to do this for me.
There you go. Quack quack. See y'all.
Quack quack.
Bye.
Bye.